To Celebrity Radio, it's Alex Belfield talking to some of the country's biggest stars and some of my favourite people. And we've got you on today, a lady who is not only delicious, she's talented and has the voice of an angel. Kara, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Or should I say Kara Lily Hayworth? What a lovely name.
Oh, thank you very much.
And a name that really came from nowhere and through Cilla the musical has become legendary. I mean, you've had more hype around this musical than any other in probably 10 years.
Oh, wow, really? That's a very kind thing to say. Thank you. I feel very lucky to be here right now.
There aren't many gigs in the West End or on tour with musical theatre where people care who play the parts, but this was different. Because we love Cilla so much, it was very important how they found the Cilla, and you were it. Let's go back to the beginning when you auditioned. I mean, did you really think you were ever going to get it, or was it just another gig?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, an open audition where there's thousands of people, I just thought it was a massive long shot. And my wonderful acting agent said, oh, I think you'd actually be great for this. And I hadn't really given it much thought. And I said, oh, well, she was Ginger. Might as well go along. And yeah, so it sort of went from there. And we had a couple of recalls on the day and then had several more rounds after that, as you can imagine. And yeah, and then the day I actually found out, I was just a bit... I think I'm still gobsmacked now, to be honest.
I'm going to say probably the obvious, but there is no way an amateur could play this role 8 times a week. It is such a big sing. You own the show and you're on it throughout. It's not like you come on and do one of those sort of 3-minute standing ovation inducing numbers and then clear off. I mean, you drive the whole show, don't you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on stage the whole time. So if you don't want to look at my face very much, then don't come. No, I do. I get to sing some wonderful songs, but I think I've got 18 songs altogether. So it's a lot, and I've got 24 costume changes, and I'm on stage the whole time. But that's a wonderful thing. It's great.
What's great about this show as well is they've given you a great band and a fantastic sound system. I know this might not seem much in the grand scheme of things, but if you weren't amplified right and it didn't sound amazing, I think it would be to the detriment of the show, because this is a sung-through show, really. Yeah. I mean, it's a play. Obviously, we're finding out about Cilla's life and her love, but fundamentally, we want to hear the hits, don't we?
Yeah, the sound is amazing. Graham, our sound designer, he's just amazing. He's on it every time. And every time we sound check in a new venue, it almost just sounds better and better every week. And Blackpool, where we are now, obviously, it's such a huge theatre. You know, it's a 3,000-seater, and the actual stage is just enormous. We were in Birmingham last week, which was gorgeous as well, but the stage feels almost double the size. So when we were sound checking, it felt like I was in my own little rock concert at the beginning.
This has done incredibly well, and all over the country it is selling out. What a relief, because let's face it, a lot of shows are struggling.
Such a relief. When we opened in Liverpool, and the reaction and the reviews were just so tremendous, we all just sort of went, oh, thank goodness. And the hype, like you say, has sort of got around, and people seem really interested in it. And with each venue, as the week progresses, they sell more. You know, once the reviews come out on the Tuesday opening night, and then by the end of the week, by the Saturday, it's packed, and it's just amazing. And we've had a standing ovation every single show so far, which is, wonderful. The audiences seem to really care about it, and loads of Cilla fans come, and I've had people say, oh, you would have done her proud, which is just the best compliment that I can get, really.
How old are you now? No.
But, no, I'm 29.
Right, I'm 37, so we're more or less the same. We sort of missed the Cilla singing hype, but we knew her as a TV star. I think the people that were in the audience today knew her right from the beginning. And what's amazing about this show is your job is to recreate the Cilla that you didn't know, because we know her from Blind Date and those TV shows. How tricky was that? Because she did change as the years went on.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly like you said. I went round my nan's house and watched Blind Date on a Saturday night. That was how I knew her. Yeah. But sort of doing the research, it was why, YouTube and everything is so great, because everything's on there. I mean, obviously the stuff at the Cavern wasn't documented, but all of her live performances once she became, the singing star that she was, you can see it all. So it's amazing to watch all of that and watch her movements and the way that she moved her hands and the way that she sang and all of that stuff. And it's incredible. And obviously her son, Robert Willis, is one of the executive producers on the show. So we had sort of first-hand accounts of everything. And he is just the loveliest man you will ever meet, and he was really involved right from the auditions through to rehearsals and everything, and he's very proud of the show, which means a lot.
I had the great honour of going to Cilla's penthouse apartment in London. There are only 2 houses I've ever been in where the lift opens into the front room, and she had one of those at St James. And we did an hour special for the BBC, and to be in the presence of that level of legend, they're not making them like that anymore, are they? I mean, the fact she could sing, she could dance, she could perform, she could act, she could present, she could be herself, and people loved her for that. I mean, what an honour for you to recreate and bring her to the stage, because I'm not sure she would have even done it herself. Right at the end, she said she couldn't be bothered anymore. It was such effort having to put the slap on and do the singing. She couldn't be bothered.
I feel so lucky. Like you say, she was so loved, and to have all of those things, as you know, as just a wonderful personality, but then to have all of that talent to back it up, you know, it's rare. And I can't believe I get to play her. And the little moments where I'm sort of speaking directly at the audience when we do a sort of performance at the Palladium and a performance in Blackpool, actually, and it's really lovely. And the way that they react, you sort of think, this is that buzz that she must have felt when she was up on stage, and people love that really natural personality. And the way that Jeff Pope's written the script is just, it's so beautiful and natural, and everything just flows wonderfully. And yeah, I mean, and he wrote the TV show as well, so it was a no-brainer, and we're very lucky to have had him.
I'm glad I'm talking to you here, because she loved Blackpool. We're here at the Winter Gardens today, which is this palace of show business. When you think of who stood on that stage downstairs and would fill this place out for decades, you were born to do this, weren't you, really? I mean, this is all you've ever done. When we look at your career, I know this was sort of a role for someone to come and open audition, which you did, and you got the gig, but you've done this all your life.
Yeah, I have, but you know what? It hasn't been an easy ride. I left drama school in 2010, and I couldn't get any auditions for like 2-3 years. You couldn't get a good agent, all of these things that you need, and I just thought, I must not be good enough. And sometimes it just takes a while for that right thing to come along, and then when it does, everything just sort of falls into place. But like I say, I'm 29, and this is by far the biggest thing I've done. I've been working steadily, but not had that sort of game changer role. And I would just say to anyone sort of trying to do it, just because you don't get something straight away, and just because you don't get those auditions, does not mean that you're not good enough, or you're not going to get there eventually. It just takes perseverance and hard work, and all of those things. That was a really motivational speech.
I'm inspired to audition myself. Well, I've got the ginger hair, I suppose.
Yeah, there you go. You'll be my understudy.
Grow it out, you never know. And then we look at the pressure and how much you have to do in this show. As we sit here, and I'm sorry, by the way, for asking for an interview on a 2-show day. You must hate me. I'm sorry about that. But you've still got another one to do. How drained are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Because this is a big sing.
I mean, it's a Saturday, so this is the end of the week. I'd say about a 7 at the moment. It is quite an exhausting show, I have to say. But the company are all amazing, and I am looking forward to having a good old sleep tomorrow. But tonight will be a great show. As soon as you get out there in front of the audience, you get a renewed sense of energy, and everything sort of, you get that adrenaline, and it keeps you going.
Is there any more fun than having that pin focus on you with the band behind you and all the team that make you look fabulous, as well as the costumes and all that stuff? And then you get to sing something like You're My World, which is the song they're all waiting for, let's face it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time when we opened in Liverpool. I mean, and obviously you can tell I'm not a Scouser, so firstly that was nerve-wracking in front of a Liverpool audience. But yeah, coming out into the middle of the stage for You're My World, just on my own with a microphone, just talking directly at the audience, I really enjoy it now. I was faced with sort of utter terror the first few times, but now I love it. It's brilliant, and yeah, you just got that spotlight on you, and this is the stuff that dreams are made of, really.
What I love about you too is we mustn't forget Cilla was a bit naughty, and she was cheeky, and she pushed boundaries, and she didn't really care. She was so big, actually, she could make her own rules. And you do bring that to the part, because this isn't some shrinking violet. This is a woman who actually at times made really cruel decisions, especially in her private life, to make sure she stayed as successful as she was.
Yeah, I mean, she was obviously very lovable as a person, but yeah, she definitely had an edge, and she wasn't going to let anyone walk over her. Anyone but Bobby, her to-be husband. She was definitely feisty, and she wasn't going to take any from anyone.
I love that. And then bringing that to life, of course, you've got to try and capture her spirit. And that was the reason people loved her, because she was a character. Was that almost more daunting than the singing? Because you're a great singer, and singing well isn't going to be your problem. Being the character is what really is going to take the skill.
Yeah, and making sure that people that knew her and people that loved her as a personality felt like they were getting what they wanted from it, felt like they were getting those memories back. And yeah, that is quite a daunting thing to try and get that personality across. And yeah, I mean, hopefully we got there.
You do a beautiful job. And then we look at those magic moments where she's in the recording studio. And then, of course, you were following Sheridan, who was following Cilla, and now you're being... there's sort of a triangle here of love, isn't there, in a way, that the affection that Sheridan had for Cilla and that you've now got, and then you're paying off really from the TV show. It's not identical to the TV show, but it's pretty similar.
Yeah, I mean, I loved the TV show when it came out. I watched it, obviously, having no idea that this was in the pipeline. And Sheridan Smith she's an extraordinary performer, singer, actress. She's amazing. So it was quite daunting, obviously, having Cilla herself, then Sheridan's performance. It sort of felt like there was a double whammy to try and live up to. But, you know... I'm loving every second of it, and we've had amazing direction and, like I say, writing, and it is different to the TV show. You know, there's a lot more songs, and it's obviously made for stage, but it is a kind of different beast, really. And
there's some surprises, like Dancing in the Street. You wouldn't expect that, and that's actually one of the most spectacular numbers. You've Lost That Loving Feeling, which is a magical moment between you and Bobby on stage, which again I wasn't expecting. They've added a lot in, and there's more Beatles than you would expect.
Yeah, I mean, they've got loads of the Beatles sort of early hits, which people will sort of recognise and remember, and everybody loves the Beatles. You know, people go absolutely wild for that. But yeah, Dancing the Street and her little journey to America, and you get that whole story of why that didn't work for her. And yeah, there's a real array of different kinds of songs. I mean, there's obviously her massive numbers. Then my favourite is Alfie, which with Burt Bacharach. There's a whole scene where Burt Bacharach comes in, and there's sort of this amazing story where she goes to the studio to record with Burt Bacharach, and he's notoriously hard on her and makes her do the song, you know, several times. So we sort of reenact that, but I just absolutely love that song. I think that's probably my favourite in the show. Your
career, though, has been interesting as we look through it. I mean, if you go to your website, we can watch videos of you singing as you. Do you find yourself now in the mirror saying, I'm going to comb my hair and things like this, like Cilla would have? Because, I mean, you're living this 8 times a week.
You know what? It is sort of filtering into my real life, and especially with a lot of the cast being real Scousers, I do find myself talking in a Scouse accent just in life and have to sort of catch myself a little bit.
She more or less admitted her tongue was in her cheek because she didn't really say cur or her or those things. It was sort of, again, a parody of herself. She did that a lot because she knew it entertained people.
Yeah, and I going back to Blind Date, we've got Claire, and that's all I can remember her saying. So yeah, she's got all the thers and the her and the cur. Yeah.
Why is that funny? I don't know. It just is.
I don't know. It's brilliant, and I've learnt all my words and I've worked on my vowels.
That got a big laugh today, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
Was that strange for you as an actress, going from a singer and actress to getting laughs? Because, I mean, when 1,000 people, 2,000 people laugh at you, it's quite shocking, isn't it, the first time?
Yeah, and I've never thought I was very funny. It's obviously a very good script. Yeah, it's actually, I can see why. I mean, the thought of doing stand-up is just utterly terrifying, but I can see why comedians do it, because you do get a real buzz when they laugh at something you've said, and you're like, oh, okay, that was nice. So I get why they do it, but I do get a few little laughs in the show, which is nice.
And I said to you right at the beginning, one of the great things about you is that the sass that you put into this role. And we must remember, to my dad, Cilla was a sex symbol. Let's not forget this. She is the idol of her day.
Oh yeah, I mean, she had the best legs in the business. So I can't believe they picked me to do it.
And that must mean you have as well.
Well, I don't know.
I noticed on your website there are some very glamorous pictures. I mean, you are delicious, aren't you? Let's face it. I mean, you've been paid to be a model. I mean, people like you for that.
Well, I've done a little, but I mean, I'm not a model, but I do a little bit of commercial stuff. Have done before.
I model for scatter cushions occasionally.
Oh, lovely.
Or door knockers.
Yeah.
Or the fish and chip shop just down the road there. They asked me once.
It's funny. I had a couple of people come to stage door, and someone had printed out all these photos of me that I haven't seen for years. And I thought, where on earth did they find these? I mean, I was very flattered, but I thought, goodness gracious, nothing bad, obviously, but just sort of posy modelly ones from a few years ago. But yeah.
Google, you can't get away with anything, can you?
No, you can't.
Congratulations on everything. You are so magnificent in this, and it lets you shine. Dare I say, you steal the show. You are the show, and without you, it would be far less, because that voice is so fabulous, and the power you have. And then right at the end, you sing this beautifully delicate song, which I have to admit I wasn't aware of. I don't know whether you were before the show.
No, it wasn't from that sort of era. It was from later on in her career, sort of early 90s is when she sang that song. And lovely Bill Kenwright said he wanted a sort of "you'll never walk alone" moment in the show, and it's just perfect. Like, and I've never known a show end like that. Like, you sort of have that real high, everyone's up dancing, and then you end on this quite beautiful, sweet. It's bizarre.
I think it's a northern thing as well. I'm seeing Ken Dodd tomorrow, funnily enough, at the Grand Theatre next door, and he always says you end on a tearful earful. That's how you leave them, because that's the heart, isn't it? And I guess that's the thing about the show. They want to leave you feeling like you've had an amazing time, and you certainly do that. Congratulations on everything. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.